A lot has panned out in the last week. There was a lot of action, there was a lot of auction, there was a lot to process in, and well, it's been quite an eventful week in the world of cricket. And here we are yet again at the Toast the Tossed, where we are with our finalists Bidhu and Oreo to dissect into everything that has been happening for the past week. First of which, obviously, is the unthinkable uh, India triumphant over Australia at Perth. And of course, things that have been happening on the table, the auction table, who made a good team, who made a not so good one, who were the misses, what was left to be desired. All of that we are going to unravel in this particular segment. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from whichever part of the globe you're joining us. All right, gentlemen, let's dive right into our discussions. First up, raise of hands if you believed India is going to win against Australia and before the first ball was bowled. I guess
Not me.
I guess it's safe to say nobody believed that India is going to win, but we are happy and we are delighted to see our men doing really, really good. Uh, I'll start off with Oreo today. Oreo, what did you make of the first test? Who impressed you the most? And what are the things that India did right that Australia couldn't replicate as well?
Okay, you asked too many questions. I'll answer the first question. What did I like about the first test? And it's a universal, it's a global phenomena we are following now. We have come in a time and age where there is nothing called home advantage. England defeated New Zealand today, and India lost to New Zealand at home. Australia lost to India in a fashion which we had never anticipated. Hence, I would like to tell there's nothing called home advantage, and uh, it was something like a sense of disbelief to see how things panned out. Uh, India at 150 all out, and then the day ends with Australia having lost 6 to 7 wickets. So that was something totally unexpected, and boy oh boy, what a test it was.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we pretty much made the statement on the first day itself that we are no pushovers. We are here to compete and we are most definitely here to win. A lot is at stake, that's been said before as well. Your pride, your self-respect, more importantly, your World Test Championship final spot is at stake. So it's all to play for both the teams, and we are glad India is delivering when needed the most. Bidhu, what did you like about the first test?
Yeah, I think the point that Oreo made was spot on. In this times with IPL, people traveling a lot, there is no concept of home advantage. The thing that people were fearing was India never had a tour game or practice games, and they directly went to Australia for a test match. But with the experience and the exposure that these players have and the amount of games they play, they're well equipped to adjust to these conditions. Um, Also, there was an informal conversation where Aryo mentioned that Aussies are now trying to prepare a spin-friendly wicket in Adelaide to give them any chance of defeating India. So that's how the tables have turned. Like teams from subcontinent not able to win at home, whereas teams from the Sena nations are still struggling, even if the pitches are bouncy and seam friendly. But couple of things. So India does have a habit of winning one or two good tests when they tour. So every tour that they had since 2000, bearing the two tours to England and Australia in 2011, they did have good results in one or two tests. Uh, but they never won the first test. So to go here to this series and to set the record straight is a big thing because one is it sets the tone to the series that all the um, so-called commentators who assume that India is going to win lose 5-0, 4-0, they are now put into place that the competition is there from the Indian team. And what was happening in India, like they had a lot to tell their supporters that even if they lost at home from New Zealand, these things can happen and they can quickly bounce back. The only test that I can remember where India did well first, in the first test match was way back in South Africa when we won in Johannesburg, where Srishant took some 5, 6 wickets. So bearing that, I don't remember a very good first test win in all the tours that we had. Um, uh, but just to talk about Australia, they are not going to take this easy. Even if we won it very easily, I think the competition is very fierce from Australia. So it is very critical to keep on, playing to our abilities.
Absolutely, absolutely, Vidhu. And just for the record, I think India has probably won their first test in Centurion when we toured South Africa in 2021, if my memory serves me right. That was under Kohli's captaincy. Second was under KL Rahul's captaincy, and they lost that in Johannesburg. Third test was again in Cape Town, again under Kohli's captaincy. Also happened to be his last test as a captain, and they lost the series 2-1. So that was one bit I could remember about. But having said that, I think yes, it was impacting to see the way India started off in Australia. Now, after this, a lot of commentators and especially Australian media has started to sort of raise questions and speculate if, and this was a, and I see this as a pattern because we saw something similar when India lost to New Zealand at home. Now we are seeing few signs of the same thing happening, that does Australia is Australia in room for change in Test cricket? Is Australia does Australia need to bring in some new set of players, some new uh, a new batch altogether? For all we know, they're anticipating this could be the last ever series for the likes of Smith, the trio of Stark, Hazelwood, and who else? Maybe even Cummins. A lot has been spoken and a lot has been spoken about, and also there was a controversy made which I thought was nothing worth dwelling into, but Hazelwood telling in an Australian press conference that bowlers are doing their bit, but it's up to the batsmen. The likes of Michael Vaughan and even I believe Ravi Shastri or Sunil Gavaskar. I don't remember which among the two, but or probably both of them. They having said that, this has never been anticipated, or never been seen that an Australian player is sort of diverting the responsibilities onto one department, and it's because always Australia has presented itself as a cohesive unit, bowling, batting. Though there are two units, but they've always represented themselves as a cohesive unit. So, is it just speculations? Is it just talk, or is there some amount of merit to it with respect to both this, uh, the something not being good in the dressing room, or the fact that they need a revamp in their red ball format or any format that for that matter? Oreo, I would like to go with you. You're on mute if you're speaking, Oreo.
Sorry. This is a problem in sports, any sport for that matter of fact. Once a team loses just one game and the kind of reactions that flow, as if the skies are going to fall on your head, that is something I do not like, particularly like as a uh, sports fan. It happens in football a lot, it happens in basketball a lot. Your team just loses 2 or 3 games, and the kind of reactions that comes as if a great injustice is going to happen or something uh, troublesome is going to happen. I think same is happening with the Australian team. I would rather believe that they have to believe in their players. That is very important. And the players have to also buckle up. Australia, for all of it, the batsmen were clueless. If Josh Hazelwood is blaming the batsman, I think he has all the right to blame them because they seemed out of sorts. They did not know how to handle the players. But as a cricket fan, over the years, as a fan of Indian cricket, I would always cross my fingers and not dance about it. because it's a long test. It happened 4 years ago. We have seen how it has panned out. So it's going to be a long test. Just because you won one test or lost one test, it does not mean much. Second test can change things. Then you will be at level playing grounds. So just go with the flow. Think about the day that which is coming tomorrow. So I would not get worried over whether they lost one test match or not. You just have to level up, and that's it. And that's all about.
Spot on, Oreo, spot on. And Bidhu, I would like to take like have your take on the whatever I just mentioned.
Yeah, so again, as an Indian fan, I was little bit less worried about India going to Australia because this is the first time India is touring and the same set of bowlers are coming at the Indian batters. So last three series, more or less, we are facing these four bowlers, which is a rarity. Even Australian team doesn't have the same set of bowlers for a decade. So irrespective of how the series goes, anyways, it's a cause of concern for Australia if they're not able to find youngsters coming through. The other option that we have is Scott Boland, who is again on the other side of 35. But that I don't think that is the only case why they lost the test. But if you see as a series as a whole, the plan of Indians would have been to take all the tests till the fourth or fifth day because by fifth, sixth, or fourth or fifth test, these bowlers will have tired legs. And the way it happened in the last BGT when India toured, these bowlers are going to get tired because they are on the other side of 35. But the major problem which I feel is the lack of form of the Australian batters. Lot of focus was how India lost, but if you look, India and Australia were quite on the same page with the Australian batters, Smith, Labuschagne. They're not the batters who they were 3, 4 years ago, and uh, and they don't have the backups actually. There is no youngsters who is really making the noise, and people are like, why is he not playing? Even after David Warner retired, if the talks is to bring somebody like a Warner back, then you know something is seriously going wrong in terms of the young players coming through. If you are missing the older players, um, but yeah, I don't even know outside of the squad if there is one or two players who are actually knocking the doors.
Interesting point you make there, Bidhu. Well, they do have the likes of McSweeney who got his debut cap last test. They did have Will Pukovski up the ranks. I don't know where he is. They did have Grace Harris. They did have who else did they have? Well,
Uh, a lot of times, I think they rated Peter Handscomb quite high because of his ability to play spin when he was touring India, but he is nowhere in the picture. Mm.
uh, yeah, I think the problem of not rewarding domestic cricket is not just an India problem anymore. If maybe I'm speculating on a very limited sample size, I don't know a lot of players who have come up the ranks from Sheffield Shield, which is like the Australian version of Ranji Trophy. But at least in the recent past, that seems to be the trend.
The other thing, what I feel is that the only country which is interested in test cricket or sports per se is India. We produce so many that we have a problem of plenty. And whether other countries find cricket as enticing or as rewarding, that's a question we have to answer. So things look a little grim. Like if a team like Australia is struggling with young talents that they don't, there's a dearth of young talents, then it puts a larger question for us to answer whether cricket will survive for the times to come is something we have to look at.
But I also believe that each time, at least in the last decade or so, each time we've questioned the authenticity of ODI cricket or, if it's there to exist. Now, FTPs might suggest one trend, but come the World Cup, you saw people appreciated World Cup more or less, at least in terms of viewership. Same thing was asked for Test cricket until the WTC came. Now, granted, WTC has its flaws in its format, but I think every time cricket has come under crisis, it has managed to just stay afloat in some manner of form. Yes, it hasn't expanded its dominance widespread across the globe, but I think I genuinely believe that, things might change in few years. Maybe not. It might take more than a decade, but I think it might. Yeah.
I'll get into a little technicalities. Bidhu can also chip in about with his views. My concern is that they have tried to reinvent Test cricket a lot. They are coming up with a night and day test format. The game became much fast paced, and that opened a Pandora's box. What we saw in this test match was like India resorted to the old traditional format of cricket where they were in no hurry to score runs or just go all guns blazing. So that was a good change to see. For traditionalists, it was amazing. We love the way the partnership of KL Rahul and Yashashwi Jaiswal, they did not lose their wicket. So that is something really encouraging. But is that exciting for the audience? That is a question we have to answer. Bitu, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I was also researching about the similar lines last couple of days. By researching, I mean I'm hearing a lot of people. So I had listened to what Adam Gilchrist was saying. I think he's turning out to be a great commentator. And one of the points that he was mentioning was the trend will start to begin where we will see the effects of T20, because till now the this generation, while they were growing up, they were imagining to be the test cricketers of the particular nation, and along the way T20 came, so they adjusted their game likewise. Now when you see, obviously we'll speak about in the IPL section, when you see a 13-year-old getting a lot of money because he has the ability to hit the ball, whether he is going to start, working his game because he wants to be a test cricketer or not, we have to see. Because for now, for the 10 to 12 years, there are two options to take. One is to go in a shorter format way, try to navigate your skills, or you want to get into a test zone where knowing where your off stump is, leaving, playing 200 balls is a necessity. From the spectator side, again, a good point. Do we want to see a person who has played 200 balls and maybe scored a 30-40? Are we going to appreciate that innings enough? Is he going to be remunerated because he did that? Is draw a big part of this WTC? Escaping a test with a draw is considered valuable or not is something the organizers and the spectators have to decide whether they want to see that. If they don't want to see that, then the test will survive as a larger kind of a T20. Like you play T20, but you play it twice and get the game over in 2 to 3 days. But your skills is the same. Either you play fast or you get out and let the opposition go and bat. And the opposition also does the same thing. So that's what we have to see how the game pans out.
Lovely to see a mix of purists and modernization when, clubbed together, and we try to sort of appreciate both formats while we try to discuss what might stick out in the future, what might not. Having said that, one last question related to tests. Who do you think was the highlight of this entire test match? Was it Yashasvi? What was it? Bumrah? Was it KL? Was it Kohli? Who was it?
For me, it was Bumrah, because I think if Australia had scored 300 runs in the first innings, I don't know whether KL and Jaiswal had, because then they would be batting for a draw. They would not have batted for setting a score. So the mindset would have been very different, which I'm sure there might be one or two situations in the future where we probably have to bat like that. But in the first test, unless Bumrah had that particular spell, India would never have thought of win. It would always have been to either ball time or bat time and see where the test goes. So I would always keep Bumrah as a turning point of this particular match.
Without a doubt, it is Bumrah. Because he totally changed the game. But then you have to give credit to Yashasvi Jaiswal. You have to give credit to Nitish Reddy. You have to give credit to Kohli. But I would really like to commend the efforts of KL Rahul. The first innings, I think he scored about 20, 30 odd runs.
25.
Uh, 25. Okay. And even the way he was dismissed was subject to a little bit of whether he had nicked it or not. So there was a little controversy about it, but not getting deep into it. And then again, he scored another 70 odd runs. So it's nice to see a player come back to confidence. The same goes for Kohli. It's nice to see that he is in the thick of making runs. There's a lot of confidence, and it makes your fans quite happy. So Bumrah did his work. I'm not a big Bumrah fan because he did not perform particularly well in the home series. But on that same note, our bowlers also deserve a lot of commendation. The people who supported Bumrah, your Rana, your Siraj, they did their homework and they kept the Aussies on their toes. It was a sight to be seen. So yeah, credit goes to the whole team. Bumrah, no doubt, but KL, you did well too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Bumrah was always going to get credits. Uh, Yashashwi did deserve all the galore. Kohli, we are obviously happy to see him, and we know his capability. There were speculations about KL, and I'm so glad that he is finally among the runs, which begs another. Okay, I think before that, Bidhu wanted to comment on something.
Yeah, again, taking the point from Oreo, just imagine India losing this game and then Rohit Sharma being fit, flown to Australia. Do you think that was the end of KL Rahul as a test cricketer? Quite possibly, right? So that's how important that innings was for himself and for the team.
My question was gonna be on this exact point because uh, my question was gonna be that now with KL having delivered, what should be his position in the next test? And in prospect of long term, do you see KL Rahul in the scheme of red ball cricket at all?
Means that's a no-brainer technically. Yes, he is. The only challenge would be that there are a lot of talents over there. There's again a problem of plenty, but I don't think so. If KL Rahul can maintain this kind of form and intensity, I don't think so. Uh, he will go unrewarded. Especially the team has been particularly very patient with him, and if he continues to reap such high dividends, I see him fully in the scheme of things. To be very honest and frank, I would question the presence of Rohit Sharma and even Kohli for that matter of fact. But then again, they're also getting rewarded based on the previous performances, and of course, we have to be a little patient. So that is something we have to comment about BCCA.
Sound about fair? Bidhu, any takes on KL Rahul's career?
Uh, I think I was little bit going out of patience the way he was batting because see usually what happens is and it was unfortunate for KL towards the late 20s he lost form and usually I have seen cricket for 20-25 years now batters in the early 30s do lose form. It is because of two things. One is the physicality changes, the speed, agility, eye size, they all go to a little bit of transformation, and obviously they are have a different responsibility towards life as well. So you always see a dip in a batsman's or a bowler's, especially on the batter's career when they are in the early 30s. So for KL, it was happening. Both of them were happening. One is he was losing form in late 20s. Team was not able to give him a set position, and he was going through his early 30. But I feel KL is the guy who can actually guide the youngsters because there's a generation of Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Ashwin, Jadeja who are going to phase out slowly in the next 2 years, and the likes of Yashasvi Gill are going to rise up the ranks. So there is a middle layer where out of which there were players like Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, and even Bumrah to an extent. From the batting perspective, I think KL is very critical. He will be around because now people have seen what he can do. Even if his test average is on 30s, which is not very enticing on the first look, but again, data doesn't tell the full story. So I feel he'll be around for the next 2, 3 years just to keep the team steady. And he has seen he can be very flexible to bat in any position.
Yeah, I will just add on over here. One thing I really appreciated about the after the match was over, when Yashashwi Jaiswal was asked, he said that KL Rahul encouraged him a lot. And then they asked KL Rahul the same question. He said, 10 years ago, I was supported by Murli Vijay. So you need a person to mentor people around, people to have that, okay, be self-assured. So you need a person who can who can reassure people, especially the youngsters. So I think KL Rahul, he seems a little calm and all that. Of course, like we have seen the kind of a he has come under a lot of criticism, but I think if he continues this intensity and calmness, I think he is there for the longer period.
Even maybe fitness, because I think another critical aspect of KL Rahul's career has been him picking form and having injuries almost immediately. So hopefully that will be taken care of in the near future. All right, now that we have discussed the test in complete intensity and wholly, and we can now proceed further with the IPL auctions. Well, lot of shopping, lot of team compositions to dissect into and compare into, a lot of hits, a lot of misses, perhaps. Uh, your first thoughts about the auctions, Oreo and Bidhu, even.
Uh, Let Bidhu start.
Yeah. So during the auction, I think couple of teams were a little bit wayward, but I did the task which every cricketer does to put out the 11, 12. And now that I did, barring two teams, I think every other team has a lot of things to do or go in favor if they have to go get to playoffs. Um, Mumbai Indians, Gujarat Titans, and I think one more team. I have to just look at the squad again, because now IPL is becoming like a way that we went to go to playground, just divide toss, have few people in your team, few people in other team, and just start the game. We do not know which player represents which team, apart from Kohli and Dhoni, maybe Rohit Sharma. The people are just going around teams, and you just don't remember which team one person is representing. But yeah, I mean, I think only 2, 3 teams are very well stacked up, very strong. And out of that, also, I think one or two teams have to make sure that players actually gel. They have a good squad, but they are not played together. So that brings only Mumbai to be the team where players are good and they have played together. Uh, but I think every team has a lot of tasks cut out for them.
Yeah, fair point. Uh, I have not thought so much about it. I was just following a few teams which I like. One thing, I have an apology to make, because last time I took the wrong name of a scout. His name is Shrikant. He was there with KKR for 16 years. Now he's moved to CSK. I'm not a big fan of CSK, but I'm a big fan of Shrikant, and to see him help CSK form a team, and I could see that he was taking a lot of players that would KKR was naturally interested, like a Tripathi and a few others. So that was something sad to see for me as a scout fan. But it was interesting for the younger talents getting rewarded, like a Rishabh Pant, even a Venkatesh Iyer. Even Chahal got a fair deal of money. So it was good. And then again, we also saw how people just took things for granted and they were not rewarded as much. So uh, it's market economics at its best.
I'm glad you made the point of youngsters there. For me, one among many highlights was the 13, 14-year-old lad earning 1.2 CR from Rajasthan Royals. I think
Okay, he scored a run yesterday. He scored one run yesterday, so against Pakistan under 19. So maybe he has to stay a little grounded.
absolutely. And because we see the impact of not being grounded if early success gets too much in your head. We saw not Rishabh, apologies. Prithvi Shaw being unsold. Slightly disheartening, slightly saddening to see such a supremely talented individual going down the dumps because purely because of his non-cricketing reasons that has followed him of late. Be it that bar controversy, be it his disciplinary issues, be it his fitness issues, a lot has gone wrong with him. We can only hope that he comes back with flying colors yet again because everyone else who were with him, you see the likes of Gill, he has a side to captain now. You see the likes of Sundar, you see the likes of Yashashvi. You see everyone have found themselves in a good spot now, and seeing the leader of that pack, Prithvi Shaw, who won us that trophy against Australia in 2018, well, your heart does break a little bit. But apart from that, Bidhu, what did you make of the auctions?
Uh, unless we go specific, so I'll just take a few teams. So I was very surprised with, like, I'll start with my team, Rajasthan Royals. They have given a lot of faith in the Indian batting lineup, which on paper they are capable enough. But if you put them at par with some other team which has a good bowling lineup and they are asked to chase 230, uh, I have not seen that. It always a Joss Butler who holds one end or something with a reputation, or somebody else. The earlier it was Chris Morris, James Faulkner kind of a player at the bottom of the second half. They do have a Shimron Hetmeyer, but again, putting everything on Indian local talent is very Dravid-like. Uh, I mean, I know why he was doing. He wants to give it back, and he wants to give the exposure. And these players are well capable. But because they had that, and towards the end, they had the option of going after a Glenn Phillips, who was ultimately scored at 2 crores. They had the likes to have Kane Williamson or David Warner, just in case. I was surprised that they didn't go for them. Bowling wise, they were going after every bowler, but they were because of the lack of purse, they were not able to get them. So again, Faziluk Farooqi, they got at 2 crores. So I'm not sure why other teams are not going after him. So there are a lot of international players who were surprisingly not picked till they came at the last batch, and everybody just got them at a very less price, 1 or 2 crore. Uh, Bearing that, I'll just highlight one more team which really shocked me was wait, I have to check the teams. I think one team does not have any opener actually. I don't know which team is that. Is it Delhi Capitals where Rishabh Pant is there?
Uh, Possible.
Lucknow Super Giants. I think Rishabh is in Lucknow now.
Yeah, Lucknow Super Giant. Yes, I'm very. It was very weird for a team which has very capable, people in their uh, what do you call it? The auction table. Zahid Khan, who has been in this position. So the team is very weirdly structured. They have all the Indian bowlers, they have all the Indian batters, and within the Indian batters, most of them are left-handers. So I will be very curious to know which 11 play, and even if is Rishabh Pant being the opener now. And if they're actually they remain fit or not, because Indian bowlers are prone to injury, and at the top, Mitchell Marsh, he is prone to injury. It's a very weird squad.
Bidhu, I have a word to add about Lucknow. Yeah, fair point. I found it very comical actually, uh, because what I thought was that Zaid Khan was only interested in fast bowlers. And whatever he would tell Goenka would just lift the paddle like anything. And Goenka, for that matter of fact, for all the bad press he has rightfully earned, I think he did not means like he was very active on the table, but they did miss a lot of points when it came to having a proper team with the right kind of right left combination. or the Indian and a foreign player. Sorry. So that was a point of concern, which you have rightly pointed out. Um, and one team, like there were two teams which were particularly very funny. That was RCB and MI. The first day seemed that they did not have enough coffee or tea, and they just came to the table and did not bother to bid or anything like that. Meanwhile, other teams were making attempts to get good players, but RCB, I believe, they did not even take one player. They did not raise the paddle even once when the marquee players were set on auction. So that was a point of concern. But RCB being RCB, doing their RCB things, or MI and RCB, now there's a nexus being hinted at. So you never know. It was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, I would love to know about RCB from Sanskar only because we know out of the
Yes.
panel he is a big RCB and would represent a lot of people from our network. So would love to know his thoughts.
Okay, it's only fair I get a question, and I'm glad to answer RCB's question. Um, if I were to make an honest assessment of RCB's option, yes, it did surprise me as well. For them not going behind marquee players for the likes of Rishabh, KL, or even Shreyas for that matter, because at least I anticipated that they would need a captain. But now it seems, at least from the paper, it does look like Kohli wants to come back at the helm of affairs. But if you were to look at the overall composition, I am actually pretty satisfied with the team, purely because this time they have certain depth in batting. Middle order was one sort of a jigsaw puzzle that they could never solve. It was sort of hidden because of Dinesh Karthik in the last 2 out of 3 seasons, but it was still pretty fragile. This year, they've tried to address that with the likes of Livingston, Jitesh Sharma, Tim David, and even if required, Romario Shepherd, maybe. Bowling as well, pace looks pretty potent, like the likes of Hazelwood. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I thought was a brilliant addition, is somebody who I've wanted for a while now, and I'm glad to see Rishabh. Sorry, I keep gravitating towards Rishabh for some reason. Bhuvneshwar Kumar in the red for one more time. One more time, I say, because he was a part of RCB in 2010. Never played a game, but he was. But I'm glad. There's Yash Dayal, obviously. One spot how I do feel they are a little light upon is the spin bowling. Placing a bet with the likes of Surya Sharma is a huge bet in my opinion. Krunal Pandya is a good defensive option. Liam Livingston, I'm not quite sure if he's that four overs kind of a bowler. So spin is one aspect where I feel RCB is a little light. But all in all, what I liked, another aspect that I actually liked about RCB is they did not spend lavishly. It's something which is ingrained in their culture for the longest time. They did not spend a lot on. Did not do emotional investments. Although I would have liked to see a certain Will Jacks at least, and maybe a part of
Okay,
me.
I have a question for you. Sorry to interrupt. How did you feel when the junior Ambani came and hugged the RCB guys when they did not when they did not persist for Will Jacks? What was your feeling about it?
My honest thought was that I think, if you remember in 2022, RCB was reliant on Mumbai's win against Delhi, and it was Tim David who got them through the line. Now that Tim David came back to RCB, I thought, they must have had a side deal that you give us Tim David, we'll give you Will Jacks. Probably that happened, and they shook hands. But yeah, a part of me was disappointed when I didn't see Will Jacks being retained. I thought he's someone who's phenomenal with the talent that he has. Even probably for the veterans like KL and Yuzvendra Chahal, they should have at least tried. Probably they did, but maybe not as hard as I would have liked. They were about to go for Venkatesh Iyer, and understandably so. So, Bidhu, you made the point about LSG being too left-oriented. RCB, in fact, is being too right-oriented in their batting, at least. While it looks solid, it's too right-handed, is what I felt. So that was my assessment about RCB's performance in the auction, which brings me to the teams which you'd like to discuss and which you thought are balanced on in the auction table. Bidhu, I would like to go with you.
Yeah, just before just completing that take on RCB. So all the fans of Sanskar who are watching, they will get to know how old I am. This team of RCB is representing the team of RCB from 2008 to 2011. So I think since 2011-12, the RCB invested heavily on superstars, the likes of Gale, AB de Villiers, who always pull the crowd because of the brand they are. It's not about the wins they had, apart bearing one or two playoffs. But if you remember the pre-era, there were the likes of average players. I think that time the best or the most fond Bangalore player was Ross Taylor, and
Okay.
beyond that there was KP, obviously, who was uh, I think the second most popular, and they used to win with players like Jesse Ryder. There were all Karnataka spinners. Akhil, Srivas Goswami was the wicketkeeper. Robin Ottava was a good batter, uh, at least till that time. But they did go to playoffs in South Africa with these kind of teams, with the utility players, effective players. But in that phase, captaincy was a big thing, whether it was Dravid or later Kumble and Kevin Peterson. The captains were really good. So if Virat Kohli can captain this team well, I think these players are quite effective. So in the first phase, the first 7, 8 games, if they have the right 11 and they know the responsibilities, they can do well. But on the face of it, we have to see how the likes of Hazelwood and Bhuvneshwar Kumar are going to perform in the smaller grounds. Because once the swing is gone, you know how the batters feast on the bowlers, slow, especially the people who do not have pace in Bangalore.
Okay, I have one question because Sanskar and I stay in Bangalore. I'm not a big fan of RCB. Um, but there's a lot of conversation about how much you can score in Bangalore. I've really never measured any of the grounds, but I wanted to know whether, see, what I find is that the pitch has totally changed. The pitch about 4 years ago or even 2 years ago, that's not the same pitch. It's becoming extremely difficult to score in Bangalore. I'm not talking about IPL last year. I'm talking about the matches we have seen, like the test matches I've seen. Like if there is a fair bit of rain or something like that, I think things can be a little interesting out there because the pitch has definitely changed. It's not that old blue, high scoring
With
Bangalore
respect
pitch.
to rain, I think Chinnaswamy has always rewarded pacers, at least in the power play, because we've seen power play collapses even with RCB, even with the opposition at times.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I think,
True.
yeah, like I think Chinnaswamy, while it's been graveyard purely with respect to the economy rates for bowlers, it has also given occasions to, take wickets. And I think, like you rightly mentioned, Oreo, rain is going to play a factor and Bangalore being Bangalore because it rains in the pre-monsoon season of May. I think it can play a few spoil sports, or you never know, it might do wonders for the type of pace we have. It could go either way. Well, RCB is been doing RCB things for more than a decade now. It remains to be seen. But I think we have spoken quite a lot about RCB, and it's only fair to discuss about other teams which you might think are brilliant on paper, or that first 11 might be brilliant. Gentlemen, who do you think seems most sought after, at least after the auctions? Oreo, I'd like to go with you first.
So my thing is I do not follow the teams very closely. I did like the way the teams were trying to bid for the players. It seemed very exciting. KKR is one team I follow, but they tried their best to maintain their core. But KKR is again a team that they would be comfortable. Okay, 1, 2 seasons they don't win, they are okay with it. SRH is a team I like to follow, but I do not know how they performed this time. They also retained most of the players. Again, I'm a big fan of Rajasthan Royals. It seems a little tricky. I hope they do well. I believe in Sanju Samson. Interesting uh, uh, thought processes, but uh, actually means more than the players. I see that there is a good support staff. You have some great coaches, managers. Mahela Jayawardene is back. Your Sangakara is still in the thick of the thing, so that is something pretty exciting for me.
Yep. Bidhu, any other team barring RCB you found to be good on the at least on paper?
See, I'll not talk about Mumbai Indians because they are way above everybody else in terms of the talent and the squad they have built. See, if your first over is from
Yeah.
Trent
Sorry,
Bolt, second,
uh,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad you actually brought Mumbai Indians very early up because, yeah, one thing you and I, and probably even Oreo, all the three of us can agree on is their first 11 seems to be the most sought after of all teams. But a major, major drawback for Mumbai is their bench strength just does not look good. Now, see, they have the talent scouts, they have the ability, they've had the past of bringing out gems out of nowhere, but at least from a very laymanish perspective, that bench strength does not provide a lot of confidence if I'm a Mumbai Indians fan. S- and if things might go down south, if even probably say one or even 2 years of their core end up having a bad season or end up being injured.
One thing I would like to add over here, MI, for that matter of fact, is not a 4-year-old team. I think they are focused more on the immediate gains. Maybe 1 year they will do really well. Next year they might do really well. But I don't see them as a 4-year team with these players in the thick of things. Even Pandya, it can be always very dicey.
Yeah, Oreo, sorry, Bidun, please
Yeah.
continue.
So, just for my own information, if suddenly a player gets injured for a particular franchisee, they can buy a different player, right, in the middle of the season
Yeah.
from among the
Yes.
unsold players.
Yes, yeah, that's a normal thing, right,
Let's say somebody
Sanskar?
like Will Jacks is injured and he is opting out, so they can actually go and buy Kane Williamson, whichever team Will Jacks is. That option is
Yeah.
available. So I'll not. So
Yeah.
yes, I mean, a lot of talks has been about if Jafar Archer is injured for Rajasthan, if Mitchell Mars is injured for his team, how will they? But I think the option is always there to fill your overseas slot and go and buy somebody else. So I'll just assume that everybody is fit, and from the face of it, like one line for each team. See, Rajasthan Royal, too much expectation of Indian players. So on paper, they are not at par with the big superstars, but they were together. They are young. They can take it upon themselves. For CSK, if Dhoni is not in the form or he is not able to play the role of an impact middle order finisher, so there 5, 6, 7, 8 includes Deepak Hooda, Vijay Sankar, Ashwin, Jadeja, Shivam Dube. So that again doesn't invite lot of confidence. Um, Gujarat
Check.
Titans again, lot of good players, but they have not played together. So how soon they can combine and perform? Uh, we saw what happens when Hardik Pandya was not the captain of Gujarat Titans. The same team could not perform. So it depends upon how well the coach and captain can bring the teams together. Uh, uh, a word on Punjab. They came in with the huge purse, but again, I'm not confident about the purchases they made. The three buys that they made totally depleted their wallet, and then again they went back to see. For UZ, I'm happy. I mean, he deserves a lot of money because he is still the best spinner in IPL. But usually, left armers, I mean, the wrist spinners do not go for 18 odd crores. He is something, if they could have bought in 12, 10, it would have been fine because there were other options as well. So splurging 18 on him is, I think, they went too far. And you can see beyond that, beyond Arshdeep, UZ. Do
I
they
think
have
that's a
anybody?
problem. That's been a problem with Punjab, at least for the last 10 years. Definitely, they have not gone to the playoffs. I don't, after 2014, I don't think so they have ever made to the playoffs. So that's the problem. They're always in the rebuild mode. They find it very difficult to find a settled team to go ahead. So that's again a point of concern, but yeah, that's Punjab doing Punjab things.
Yeah,
So
the big players are Stoinis and Maxwell, apart from Shreyas Iyer. So Maxwell, you know how he comes into IPL. Marcus Stoinis, yes, good, but he has never taken the teams to a big playoffs after winning 4-5
I'm a
games.
little, and to be very honest, I'm a little doubtful about Shreyas Iyer as the captain because but there's a lot of talk. Oh, he won the IPL trophy for KKR. I the KKR won the trophy because they had a strong team. They had a strong coaching team. They had Gambhir in the thick of things. So we have to apologize to Gambhir for a lot of negative commentary. But yeah, so there were a lot of things. So it has to be a cohesive unit. The team has to be a cohesive unit. Maybe if Shreyas Iyer takes the learnings from KKR to his new team Punjab, that might benefit him. But knowing Punjab, I don't think so. That looks very probable. So yeah.
The perennial problem for the likes of Punjab and even the teams who haven't won IPL so far, for that matter, maybe RCB and DC. They assemble a squad all right, but they just lack the cohesion. Okay, maybe cohesion has not been that big enough an issue with respect to RCB because at least they have a settled captain for that one cycle. But for the likes of DC and Punjab, especially Punjab, they're always in the rebuild mode, like Oreo mentioned, lack cohesiveness, and more importantly, they don't utilize their resources well.
Same
So
goes for Delhi. Same goes for Delhi. Always in a rebuild. Also, very poor in uh, framing teams. But one thing the Delhi manages to do is like make the players very expensive for the. Yeah.
Expensive, I think that's the right word. Just because I was trying to ask Sanskar, you can take us through KKR team if you like. Do you think Venkatesh, they were raising the paddle for Venkatesh Iyer because they wanted Venkatesh Iyer the all-rounder, or they had in mind that Venkatesh Iyer is going to captain for us in this particular season? Because on paper, if you ask me, I'll straight away make Ajinkya Rahane the captain. The number of the players that I see, the Ajinkya Rahane is the best captain for me, but I'm pretty sure he is not going to be the first choice. It's your thoughts on KKR.
I had the exact same thought process, Bidhu, because they just don't have a captain, honestly, other than Ajinkya, who I'm not sure will even feature in the first 11. And you don't want to have that situation where he comes and bats and then you have an impact sub. I don't want that to happen. Maybe Rinku Singh might be an option looking at future ahead because he knows a one who envisions his future with KKR. So probably him. Other than that, I don't see any suitable candidate for captaincy, at least at the moment. Oreo, you wanted to say something?
KKR did a very interesting thing when they went for Venkatesh Iyer for that much money, and that's a very KKR thing to do. They still have a Russell and Narayan. Uh, Even when Yusuf Pathan was pretty old, not scoring runs, they would still persist to get him in the team. So why do they do that thing is something Shah Rukh Khan has to explain. So I would like to believe that. Retaining the same team, retaining the same course, showing that amount of confidence adds to the onus on the players. So they try to give their best and all. Venkatesh Iyer, all said and done, might not be the greatest talent, but he brings all that Talapati vibes of Rajnikant and all that. He makes things look pretty easy. One thing I really admire that when KKR let go of Shubman Gill, who was more of a popular name back then, and then they went ahead with Venkatesh Iyer, and Venkatesh Iyer was not in the six players that KKR had retained, and he felt sad about it. But still, the team owners they went for him. So it's more to do. I think money was not much of a criteria as much of a sentiment. Whether that brings the dividends for KKR is something I have to look. And as Sanskar said, I think the next captain is going to be Rinku.
Yeah, and just to close it, basically that backfired so much for the KKR management because see, last year you were not using Venkateswar fully, you were using him as an impact player, which means skill-wise you are not buying him because he can bat and ball because impact role is still there. You are buying him because maybe, as Oreo said, he was a part of the squad. Then again, you could not retain him because of whatever you did not retain him, and now you did not expect other teams to be actually that bullish on the player like Venkatesh Iyer. So they had no
I
option just
think
to
they
keep.
deliberately raised the. I think they deliberately. I think RCB and DC were constantly bidding for him. But I think they knew that KKR is going to spend a lot of money on him. So that seemed very deliberate. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, I was the same thing because I thought in no way they were trying to raise somebody else's, deplete somebody else's purse. They are definitely going to buy it. And they were too confused ki why is somebody else bidding that high for a person like Venkatesh Iyer? Because as Sanskar said, I think for captaincy, they might look at Rinku Singh. And for skills, they will go for specialist batters and specialist bowlers with the impact rule. But because he now has garnered so much of money to justify that, money, they might just make him the captain.
But I think this IPL auction, one thing was very interesting that the teams went for bowlers and all-rounders. That seemed to be a kind of a highlight. That if you're all-rounder, there's a lot. I would have never thought of seeing an IPL where David Warner, Kane Williamson, or even Prithvi Shaw, for that matter of fact, getting ignored. So that's a point of that might be one reason why Venkatesh Iyer as a all-rounder got preference and all that and that much amount of money.
Which begs a question as to why a certain Shardul Thakur was left out. I was very surprised that he also went unsold.
Hmm.
Can bat. Bowling, okay, has been pretty iffy-ish of late from Shardul, but he's still an asset. He's still a match winner on his day. So I was quite surprised that he wasn't a part of any squad this time around.
He was part of some amazing teams, both KKR and CSK. So yeah, your concerns are pretty right, but um, I have not followed him that much of late. But yeah, he's known to create miracles. So probably there's another miracle. It's not the end. The auctions is not the end of the uh, road for the players because one player gets injured, you go for the next best talent. So I don't think so. It's curtains for Prithvi Shaw or Shardul Thakur for that matter of fact. Yeah.
For me, I think like the most ideal squad. I'm using the word ideal. I'm not using the word best. For me, it is Gujarat Titans, and I'll tell you why. Because they just seem very sought after with their batting, with their bowling. Not the biggest names, barring maybe Rashid, but they have almost all their boxes ticked. They have Gill, they have Sai Sudarshan, they have Glenn Phillips, they have Butler, they have Rashid, they've already retained Rahul Tewati and Shahrukh. They managed to acquire Gerald Coetzee. They also managed to purchase Washington Sundar at a steal. They brought in Kagiso Rabada. They brought in Prasidh Krishna. They brought in Siraj. And Gujarat might just be that dark horse who might end up sort of surprising everybody like they did in their first year. What do
Mm, Yeah, they have the right sort of players, but then again, the captain is not that great enough. If they are going ahead with Shubman Gill as captain, I don't think so. He seems to be a player like we saw it in the last IPL. He seemed to be a little easygoing. He did not take onus in critical times and all that. So his leadership is a little under the cloud. But then there you have a Joss Butler and other players to support him. And let's see how it pans out.
Interesting. But I think one narrative that stood out, irrespective of any team, and I think we have discussed this on our panel last time around, was Indians getting what they rightly deserve because the narrative was that it's Indian Premier League, and if Indians are not getting paid well, then what's the point? Because foreigners, they didn't register themselves in the mega auctions. They come in this mini auctions that they have, take all the money, and then just conveniently go at times. Yeah,
I
okay.
disagree. I disagree with you. Arjun Tendulkar deserves 25 lakhs, not 30 lakhs. But then they removed the 25 lakhs. So, yeah, means like, I'm just being, yeah, but I agree with you. It's market economics at its best. And the IPL auctions is market economics at its best. Every player brings a brand value, they bring their skill set, and whether it gets the attention of the players is something
All,
of the teams, I think. So it has been pretty good. Let's see.
all right. I think we are at top of our time. So I'll leave this segment with just one last question. At least, okay, with two predictions rather. One, with respect to India versus Australia, who do you see winning Adelaide? Bidhu and Oreo.
For me, like, see, I always tell India because it's a superstition. Like, if I say something which is not India, then that might come true, and you probably have to blame yourself. So, uh, but yes, I think Adelaide is one of the places where we always have good memories. The only thing is it is pink ball, and we don't know how the team is going to perform there. But Adelaide, Sydney, these are the grounds where we already have won and good memories. So we will take and a lot of supporters as well. So I think we'll feel that home vibe, and winning there is also quite nice. I didn't understand
Okay.
that. Sorry, four, four
3-1,
last four
he's
tens.
telling.
E6
We have
in
won
Adelaide.
six tens. So, yeah, I mean,
No,
go ahead.
Sanskar.
about good memories, I said 36 all out last time around.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we had our 2003 memories when we first won in Australia. As like we
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
our first memories as a fans. Yes, 36 is also there, but yeah, the one which is fresh is 233.
Yeah, that's true. For me, I would say it's again like the way Indians are dancing around. Oh, we have won everything. You never know. So Australia can bounce back. Like a team under Cummins, I'm not going to think that they have given up and all that. They have thrown the towel. They might come stronger, better, and that might catch Team India a little bit by surprise. But India, just because they did not let it happen the last time, means like they know what had happened last time, they would also be cautious about it. So it's going to be an interesting test. Let's see how the team fares.
So safe to say India will start as favorites after everything that's panned out, but I think Australia will be determined to be like clinical as always.
True.
Expect Australia to also bounce back. All right, having predicted that, so my next prediction comes to, at least from now, from what we see on paper, your top four teams that could qualify for the playoffs in next IPL.
Who is going first?
Oreo.
You, okay, let me tell one team first, then let's do it alternate. So I would take, I'll I think the way you guys is harped about a few teams, I think Gujarat Titans seems to be a favorite.
Okay.
Bidhu?
So the four teams would be, one is Mumbai because they have the strongest squad. I would pick Rajasthan because that's the team that I support. I would then go to so there are three things where I have to pick two. I think one of Gujarat, Hyderabad, and you cannot take Chennai out as long as Dhoni is there. If Dhoni was not there, I would not have taken Chennai because of Dhoni factor. I'll take Chennai, and the last thought would be Gujarat Titans.
Okay, so I have already picked Gujarat Titans because only Sanskar placed it. The next one would be CSK, Rajasthan Royals, and KKR because my favorite scout went to CSK and RR and KKR are two teams I support.
All right.
Sir, you
Uh,
also have to say yours.
yep.
Yes.
I'm going ahead with Gujarat. If this team can get its balance right and everything, DC is another team which has built their strong pretty well. The only thing that goes against them is the inexperience of Indian batting. Their sample size is too short. Actually, the inexperience of batting in general. They have a very relatively young squad, barring KL Rahul.
Hey, just one thing.
No, he
Ponting
said two
is in
teams. Where is the rest two teams? Where is RCB in your prediction?
My third team was going to be RCB. My fourth team is going to be Chennai Super Kings.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. My third team is going to be Mumbai Indians. Fourth is going to be CSK. RCB, I'm putting them as asterisks because their bowling is quite unproven in Chinnaswamy, so it remains to be seen. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, one thing which was pretty interesting to see that Ponting is in Punjab. Uh, do you think that might help Punjab out of the blue? Because he was quite active during the auction. I do not know Punjab doing Punjab things, but do you think Ponting can turn things around? He has done reasonably well for Mumbai Indians, has done reasonably well for your Delhi captains, Delhi also. So, Pitu, anything about Ponting as a manager?
No, I don't see Punjab doing anything special unless Glenn Maxwell plays 7, 8 games really well, like he played in 2014. I don't see Punjab going anywhere because the kind of players they have chosen, they are good, but they are not IPL winners. The only thing, just to again, the point that I want to highlight is I am not interested again in seeing wherever Chennai travels. Last time Dhoni is playing, last time Dhoni is playing. I cannot take it anymore. It's happening since 2013. It cannot happen again. It cannot be like Chennai and some other team are logged in for the last playoff, and people are only cheering Chennai because it's the last game of Dhoni. It's futile. I hope it
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
it's quite a pain to see all those CSK fans out there, and all the teams are all the stadiums are painted yellow whenever CSK is playing well, playing there with Dhoni, and fans praying that the other players get out. So that's kind of a thing I also do not particularly enjoy, like Bidhu.
yep. Quite frankly, I would have liked to see CSK moving on from Dhoni, but that doesn't seem to happen. But
They
Ah,
did not
same thing
have.
I
They have
wanted
not
to.
taken an Indian wicketkeeper, by the way. They do not have an Indian wicketkeeper. Anyone. They just have a Devon Conway, and there's Dhoni. That's it.
Same thing I wanted to tell about RCB and even MI. They keep on going to a Rohit Sharma or a Virat Kohli. Please.
that happens 2 or 3 years down the line, I would be on same page. But because they have 2 to 3 years left in them, I can say, okay,
I think you are underestimating Dhoni. He has another 20 years.
you never know. CSK does CSK things, perhaps. But coming back to that question of Punjab Kings, just like RCB, asterisks. If they can manage their resources well, I don't see why they can't. But yeah, these six teams that I mentioned look so very sought after. My only problem why I didn't pick RR was they look a little light in the bowling, and like you mentioned, Bidhu, the Indian core seems very potent, but not potent enough in clutch situations, at least on paper. LSG might struggle either with the team composition or with synergy, one of these two things. That's my gut feeling. Same might go with KKR. So yeah, that's my short assessment of all the teams that I've come up with so far. On that note, gentlemen, I think we have had a very productive discussion with respect to BGT and the IPL auctions. Thank you all for giving your insights. Let's gather once again with the Adelaide test coming up. On that note, we bid adieu. Thank you so much. Good night and see you all next week.
Thank you so much. Bye.